It turns out that you can still swipe me at this point. I thought I was getting cold. I won't guess left and right today. As usual, squeak when you swipe it. Or leave a man-machine comment on the right. Let me know, I haven't cooled down yet. Okay, that's the end of the nonsense. Let's get straight to today's topic. When Steven, after walking for 2.5 hours to find shelter, just about to take a break, he suddenly took out an iron axe. Because he realized these two towering screens are seamless. It can be used to build the foundation of his shelter. Therefore, Steven began to sweep away the weeds and branches one by one. He cut off the thinner trunk and brought it back. And the cemetery is where you separate the two sides. A square space is created between the sides. Build a shelter. The old grass that has accumulated, and the clods are shipped out. Steven hurriedly. A short shovel in the bag was pulled out. Then began to work on the construction of the foundation pit. But due to the large temperature difference in the Polynesian jungle, caused the clod to be hard. He had to loosen the ground with an iron axe. At this moment, soft ground was knocked out of the chicken pit with a shovel. While Steven sits on the log and digs a chicken pit, just because it's been a long walk, coming here has already consumed a lot of energy. But in order to complete the shelter and move in as soon as possible, he had to speed up his hands. At this point, the foundation pothole is 2.5 meters deep. Steven quickly dug out the stairs. At this time, the foundation pit of the shelter takes shape. He started digging ahead to reserve beds on one side. However, Steven is digging a hole. They made an important decision. Due to the large temperature difference between day and night in the jungle, so he's going to be in the chicken pit. Reserve a soil quality must be like area in advance. And this log that was just sawed off, it is used to get through the After getting through the shallots, Steven cut the rhizome of the trunk. And you just sharpen the base again. All you need to do is insert the sharpened wood into the gap of the stump. The stump can be divided into semicircular wooden rings of uniform size. And this giant tree stump, this is the wooden bedding material. At this moment, Steven spits out a ladder into the shelter for easy access. Then the log pieces of the stake are placed inside the foundation pit. Now, Steven can finally take a break here. After drinking this bottle of 82 Coke, I'm back on my feet. In order to create a completely hidden, a sheltered underground shelter, he took the half-used giant tree stump. Cut off the edges and corners at the bottom of the stump to ensure smoothness. Then go back to the shelter. Build a non-slip support frame for the stump. So, the stump can be fixed at the front and rear of the pit. In order to be able to make a stable ceiling, Win Steven, Dr. Ma wangding into the inside of the stake and slot it. And then he perfected the cap. These are divided. The wood cut to the same length is the ceiling. Firewood. Fix it on the newly slotted horse king, ding. To complete the frame of the ceiling of the shelter, before searching for the topped wood, he first pulled out a bundle of nylon rope and a hand crank. The crane then uses the rope to wrap around the crane, bound to the tree. Then you can go fishing. Transport a whole heavier log. Just move the wood to a half-meter high stump. Are very laborious, so Steven uses 2 joists as slides. In the end, I tried my best. Transfer it successfully. And Stephen did exactly that. Carry the wood and cover the shelter one by one. At this moment, the most difficult step is finally completed, and the rainwater seal of the shelter. Stephen uses the moss from these fallen tree trunks. Infinite moss. Nature is the best material to not only fill gaps, guaranteed sealing effect. It can improve the concealment of the shelter. And his construction work is coming to an end. Stephen lifts the last part of the stump, then cut it 25 centimeters above. I didn't expect the stump to fall. The ground was cut in two, so Stephen had to find some branches. After driving a few wild nails into the link, he wound a wooden rope around the inside of the branch. You can pull it from the inside. A safe haven. The entrance door will enter and exit the edge. Due to the limited space of the shelter, prone to carbon monoxide poisoning, Stephen specially connected the exhaust pipe to the heat dissipation hose. And when the scene gas is filled with soil bran, Stephen, who has been busy for a long time, it's finally going to be finished today. He hides in an underground shelter he built with his own hands. Experience the wilderness alone. After lighting the candle, the interior space is finally a little cozy, and the heating effect of the fireplace is naturally not a problem. Hungry Stephen can't wait to show off your cooking skills. Add a few sausages to the pot, and sealed with a layer of tinfoil, then it is directly thrown into the fire for heating. Waiting time. Stephen cut into some side dishes. Until there is a sizzling sound of oil in the pan, just bring it out. So decompressed wilderness living alone. That was Stephen's intention. He loved building shelters like this. The days of self-sufficiency. Survive in a deserted forest. You can rest in bed at any time after eating and drinking enough. Fall asleep listening to the loot of the firewood. However, Stephen was carrying his backpack the next day. Enter the northern part of the forest. Shoot him in a different place. Finally, build a new shelter. Just because Stephen saw more of this island. A glance at the sturdy tree, he immediately unloaded the burden. They're going to use them to build shelters. I saw Stephen disagree. Just open an order. First, cut off the forks of the Kington tree, one by one. In order to use the tree to build the perfect shelter, Stephen needs big trees with smooth surfaces. Then he was like a cannon. Cut off all the branches. However, the upper, thinner trunk is not. Beauty acts as a lot. So seamlessly, big tree frame, positive load. Stephen demand. He kept chopping off the bark to keep the trunk. The goal is to flatten the surface and serve as a bedboard. However, this step seems simple. It's actually quite simple. In this deserted forest, Stephen only slashed for 2.5 hours. It's the way out of the bed. And he pulled out this handmade drill. Then a wooden strip is peeled off. Then he stuffed it into a small wooden drill to complete it. Splicing. Drill bit that acts as a handle to drill holes outside large trees, until the inside of the tree is dug to a depth of 25 centimeters. Tungley also hollowed out the beams above. Maybe you didn't understand Stephen's way of building, but it's about to surprise you. Stephen, on the back mountain, split several elastic wooden then the bottom of the wooden rattan is sharpened, then linked to the upper and lower grooves of the big tree. Same trick. Make other symmetrical grooves also complete the splicing, until the tree shelter frame comes in and out. He came from the back mountain again, cut down dozens of longer logs, and cut them too. Smooth. Next, Stephen pulls out a roll of wild wool. Then the wooden rattan of the frame is tightly wound together. One back and two back ripening. Stephen kept stuffing the outer wood into the frame. A leafy wilderness. Witness Stephen's sanctuary. Grow up. Weave a circle of tomb walls. Become a shelter that ushers in the foundation. So safe. Complete little coffin shelter for you. Just have fun. However, he realized how ugly his cabin was. So, his first step, it uses a saw to divide the excess wood. As an obsessive-compulsive patient, Stephen is sharply patient. Isn't this scene a mule kick to decompress? And then he pulls out this ball of wild wool again. He spliced 2 wooden strips together and wound them to fix. And then we use the top girder to bend it. The cemetery is to make the entrance door, but unexpectedly, Mulan gave him a left swing. The log ring fits perfectly at the entrance door, but the wood at the front door is too sparse and scrawled. So he came with a bundle of equals. The size of the wooden strip is thickened. Until the entrance door to the coffin is double thick. Stephen compared the log ring to the door frame. Measurement size, then do the same. Make the original disciple's hand. After sawing off the excess wood, complete his own well-breaking round door. Since the last time he built a shelter, poor sound insulation. I always hear voices I shouldn't hear in the evening. So this too will be work. He's going to get serious. This gourd-shaped quagmire not far away is the best material. Until the dirt mission is collected, Stephen put it on his shoulders. I almost died of exhaustion after walking 250 meters carrying 20 kilograms of cement. Stephen must gather hay, reed, and other materials. Grass fiber, capable of forming network structures inside concrete. Enhance the tensile strength of concrete. Guarantee the lifespan of the little coffin shelter. However, by this time, Stephen was exhausted. So I just use a bath foot to mix it evenly. This operation, it coincides with the production process of sauerkraut. Complete concrete mixing. It goes right to the filling. Such a primitive construction method, not only is it and Stephen feels extremely decompressed. With the last touch of concrete, filling the gaps in the barrel, I can't judge him for a moment like a coffin, or something else. Although the shelter at this time is a bit hard to say, but soon he will change your perception. Cao Xian is all over the wilderness. Exterior covering material as a shelter. With a new skin, the sanctuary really looks brand new. In order to ensure a comfortable night's sleep, Stephen made a bundle of reed hay into a mattress. As the little light turns on inside, don't say it, don't say it. Extremely hidden, outside, extremely safe inside. To maintain the temperature at night, Stephen, bring in an outdoor portable stove. The chimney pipe vents, smoke, from the reserved opening, completed the basic problem of shelter survival. However, as a matter of wilderness survival, Stephen, he's really good at food gathering. Whether the mushrooms in the forest are poisonous or not, he will know as soon as he eats them. It is said that this method of survival comes from Stephen's electrician father. It seems that I can't go hungry tonight. So Stephen said nothing. And I started building a fire. He uses dead bark and dried leaves as stealth. The dark wilderness forest finally ushered in an acre of light. Next he pulls out a pumpkin again. Then take out the inner melon seeds for later use. At this moment, Stephen, who had been hungry all day, began to show off his cooking skills. Stir-fried onions. The aroma of mushrooms fills the forest. However, his cooking skills are obviously rather unique. He added milk to the fried mushrooms. Then sprinkle with a touch of soul seasoning. Finally, pour it into the pumpkin. At this moment, the pumpkin is stuffed with one of the large meals in the pot. Let's look forward to tonight's delicious food together. Stephen wraps the pumpkin in tinfoil. Thrown in the fire and roasted for 2.5 hours. Then I got into the hut. Open the lid and start feasting. However, pumpkins are useful for more than that. Hollow out the pumpkin and add a piece of fire charcoal. This is a homemade nightlight. Stephen drank hot water. A sanctuary that feels complete.